You'll hear some background noise, and I think my fan is on me. Let me turn the fan off. Let's talk Jamal Charlo versus Brian Castaño. We in a little informal setting. You guys have a good one. I'm going to give you a prediction. I favor Brian Castaño to win this fight, as I thought he won the first fight against Jamel Charlo. I knew Castaño was no joke. Jamel Charlo's counting on a knockout to get out Brian Castaño instead of the W, and I think that's going to fail him. I don't think anybody stops Brian Castaño. Too solid, good defense. He's too solid for that. So they didn't give Brian the first fight. You know, they didn't give him the first fight, and Jamel didn't drop him or anything. You know, just hurt him in the, I believe it was the 11th round. And Castaño still fought on into the 12th, etc. I think that Mel gonna lose this one. I think Brian Castaño is gonna be the next undisputed super welterweight champion of the world. But I don't hate Mel. I like that Mel is trying to make history. He's trying to do what he need to do. But I just think that Castaño is the more solid fighter. Again, the media and just a lot of the boxing world and aficionados and all those other people who are American, they will favor Jamel Charlo as they supposed to. They're supposed to favor Jamel, so I'm not mad at that. Those of you who think that Jamel's gonna pull it through, good. You know what I'm saying? But for me, my evaluation of the styles, Brian Castaño is a very difficult fighter. I saw him give Erislandy all kinds of problems, and I thought he won the fight against Erislandy Lara. They didn't give him the decision. I thought he won the fight against Jamel Charlo. They didn't give him the decision. So, you know, I expect him to separate himself this time from Jamel and win a whole bunch of rounds and win by decision. I don't expect him to stop Jamel either. So this fight, I think, is going to go 12 rounds. I think Brian Castaño is going to win the fight, and that'll be that. He'll be the next undisputed. Shout out to Derek James. I see some people saying that Derek James is a better trainer than Canelo Alvarez's trainer Eddie Reynoso. Eddie Reynoso's crap and blah, blah, blah. Don't say that, guys. You just never know what will happen. And Jamel James, hell of a trainer. Eddie Reynoso, hell of a trainer. You know, it's just the way our life goes. You win some, you lose some. And power ain't everything. You gotta have boxing skills, as Bevo showed us. It's about boxing. It's not about power. So yeah, Castaño doesn't hit as hard as Jamel, but his style is very difficult. It's a very difficult style, and I just don't think that Jamel's going to have something for Brian Castaño skill-wise. I mean, Jamel said he's going to box. He's going to do different things. He's going to try and use as much of his skills as he can against Brian. So we'll see. I mean, Jamel kind of moved away from his boxing to more of his more power punching. You know what I mean? Even though he's still a clever boxer, he's still kind of flawed as a boxer. He was much better when he was fighting Valentis Martirosyan and those guys. But hey, the Charlo brothers, they're big, they're strong. Jamel got a lot of power, but that ain't no mean shit if you got defense. So we'll see. We'll see. I know that Castaño is an Argentinian. He's not an American. I don't expect them to be there for pushing Castaño or talking about how good he is or anything like that. I think they're going to push for the homegrown boy, which is Jamel. The judges and everything will favor Jamel again. It'll be on American soil again. So I expect the bias to be towards Jamel, but I expect Brian Castaño to come out in spite of all of that and pull it off. And as for Jamel, I think Jamel should keep on pushing from strength to strength. And he doesn't mean he's a bad fighter if he loses to Brian Castaño. Sometimes a guy comes along that's just that good. So I know Jamel doesn't want to come up short, and I guess a lot of people would feel I'm a hater of Jamel for picking Brian Castaño, but it's not about me picking somebody based on who I like. I'm just doing it based off of boxing. And I just think Brian Castaño has a style that's just very difficult for anybody to deal with. It's just what it is. And he keeps on using it. So, we'll see. I don't know. Jamel, hell of a fighter. Win, lose, or draw. So, if he wins this fight and becomes undisputed, kudos to him. Just hope that the judges judge the fight fair, and that's it. But that's the guy I picked to win, Brian Castaño. I was looking at Artur Beterbiev and his fights. You know, they everybody always talk about Callum Johnson knocking down Artur Beterbiev, but Beterbiev is a very structured boxer. And in that fight, he was boxing off the back foot against Callum Johnson because Callum Johnson is big and strong. And Beterbiev knocked his ass out cold. First, he dropped him in the first round. Callum Johnson caught Beterbiev with a good shot. He was a little bit, his head was spinning a little bit, but he recouped really quickly. Within seconds, Beterbiev had recouped from the knockdown, which was, it was a big left hook. They were trading left hooks, and I think a big left hook hit out of Beterbiev. He did try to brace himself on coming down, but he was woozy when he got back up because he just kind of popped back up. Next time I would suggest to Artur Beterbiev, you take a knee if you ever get dropped and just chill for a moment so you can get your equilibrium and then stand up. Anyways, he's a big, strong guy. People saying Joe Smith Jr. would knock him out or knock him down. Nobody's knocking out Beterbiev. Nobody's. That ain't happening. He's really strong. He looks like he's a Muslim, too. He's strong. He's physically strong. And I'll look at a couple of his fights. And he basically wears you down. He beats you down. He's more of a mauler than he is a one-punch knockout artist. He'll maul you, he'll beat you down, but he's very strategic. He can box off the back foot, he can box off the front foot, really uses the jab brilliantly. Hold on a second, I think that's the people coming through. They come through the something, so even though I'm shooting a video, they don't really give a damn about me. You know what I'm saying? Alright, so let me see if I can just turn on this water for these people, and I'll come back here. Hold on one second. Just hold on a second, alright? No problem. Yeah. You good? Good? Alright. Yeah, so you know, we have to make sure that Beterbiev is a very smart boxer. He's more a boxer, puncher, but he's also kind of like a mauler. You know, he wears you down. You know, he's big, he's strong, but he's more of a boxer. You know what I mean? And very, very strong guy. So Joe Smith Jr. He's strong too. He's big, he's strong, but he could get put down. He could get knocked down. I think Joe Smith Jr. was knocked down by Bivol. Bivol knocked his ass down. You know what I'm saying? Had him on all kinds of problems in the 12th. Was beating his ass up in the 12th. And Beterbiev is not as quick as Bivol. But, you know, Beterbiev, even though he's not as quick, he's very sharp with his punches. And, you know, he dissects you and he breaks you down. And I think that's going to be a significant difference. So I picked Beterbiev to beat Joe Smith Jr. when they do meet each other. Joe Smith Jr. is a big, strong guy. But if Bivol could push him back, even though Bivol's a lot quicker, but again, textbook, fundamentally sound kind of fighters. Use the jab, stay behind their jab. You know, these Eastern European fighters, that's what they do, the Russian fighters. And Beterbiev is a two-time Olympian, if I'm not mistaken. So Beterbiev comes with that pedigree behind him. Fought Alexander Usyk, fought a lot of guys. So Beterbiev ain't no kind of easy kind of fighter. Even though I got Bivol beating Beterbiev, I think there's nobody else that beats Beterbiev at light heavyweight. And the only reason Beterbiev is he got some quickness with him. Okay, he's got some quickness. He's got good reaction time and everything. But I just don't see Beterbiev getting beat by nobody. Nobody stops Beterbiev. Nobody. And if you just go back into the history, I don't care if Beterbiev is 40 years old. Nobody stops Beterbiev. It's too strong. And he recoups too fast. Charitable Boxing News says if Smith beats Beterbiev, it'll be early. If it goes past 5, he's getting hospitalized. First of all, I don't even know. You worried about Smith hurting Beterbiev? I don't have a problem with Beterbiev. He's not gonna get hurt by Smith. First of all, I don't think so. But I do know that Smith takes too much punishment. And he's a good boxer. He's a good boxer. Don't get me wrong. He's good. But Bitty BF is just so strong. And textbook. Like Bitty BF is Olympic pedigree textbook. You know, clinical. He's a clinical fighter. And he can fight off the back foot and he can fight off the front foot. So Joe Smith Jr. is not an Olympian. He doesn't have Olympic pedigree. He doesn't have that kind of, I mean, as a world champion, he's gotten a lot better. But he's not in Bitty BF's class. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't see nobody else beating Bitty BF except for Bivol. Bivol does beat Bitty BF. Smith has a puncher's chance, but Bitty BF will break him down. Yeah. No doubt about it. You know, no doubt about it. Shout out to Intangible Boxing. I don't think that Smith has the strength and durability. I mean, Smith is strong. Don't get me wrong, but I saw Bivol almost crash his ass and get him out of there. So if Bivol could do that, I mean, shout out to Joe Habib again out there, who we believe in Smith and think Smith can pull the upset, but I mean, Smith is your state guy. You know, you guys are from New York. Smith's from New York, so I get you riding behind Smith. But if we're just gonna call fights as they are, I mean, I like Smith. I like Bitty BF. I like Bitty BF more than Smith, but that had nothing to do with it. If I'm gonna call a fight, I'm gonna call it whether I like the guy or not. You know, so in this case, like I said before, Bitty BF is a mauler. He'll break you down. He'll beat you down. He's a bruiser. He's a mauler. But yet he's an intelligent bruiser or mauler. He can fight off the back foot. He can fight off the front foot. You know what I mean? Now, you can catch him with 1 or 2 punches. Don't get it wrong. But he's strong. He's physically strong. He's very durable. So, I just don't see Joe Smith Jr. Beating that guy. I don't see him beating that guy at all. Bivol has the best chance of Bitty BF, no doubt. He has 15-round conditioning, can keep him honest. Yeah, you see, Bivol has the movement and the jab. And I could see Bivol controlling Bitty BF from the jump. And he's way quicker than Bitty BF. So I could see Bivol controlling Bitty BF. And Bitty BF he can never really get off or get some momentum going. But, and Bivol can punch. You know, he's got respectable power. But Joe Smith Jr. is just, well, we know he ain't Bivol. Bivol beat his ass, so he's not Bivol. So I don't see, if Bivol didn't exist in that division, Bitty BF would be the man. You know, Bitty BF would be the guy. I don't see anybody in 175 pounds beating Bitty BF except for Bivol. Intangible Boxing News says Gavordik was taller but more clumsy and defensively is poor at mid-range. Yeah. Gavordik tried to box and move. Teddy Atlas wanted Gavordik to box and move. Didn't make a difference. He's got his ass beat. and Bivol's physically strong, like I keep on emphasizing. He's very physically strong. Because Bivol came down from super heavyweight. You know, Bivol has a super heavyweight strength inside of a light heavyweight body. So Bivol's very, very strong. Very, very strong. There ain't nothing them guys could throw at Bivol. Bitty BF, sorry. There's nothing that them guys could throw at Bitty BF that really could phase him. You know what I mean? So Bitty BF versus Joe Smith. I got Bitty BF winning possibly by stoppage. And that would be 100% knockouts for Arthur Bitty BF. He's been knocking out everybody he has faced. So I'm not. I mean, Joe Smith Jr. is a very sturdy guy, but I've seen him in trouble. And so as a result of that, I got Bitty BF doing what Bitty BF does. He's going to knock out Joe Smith somewhere around maybe the 11th, maybe even the 12th and final round. He might get him, but he's going to get to him. He's going to break him down, hospitalize him, and put him in a coma. Man, I remember Bitty BF, Marcus Brown, but him. You know Marcus Brown always butting people. So Marcus Brown put him and bust his head open. And BWF realized that the fight was going to get stopped, so he just took it to the next level and he got that guy out of there in 3 rounds. Other BWF, yes sir. He looks like he's a Muslim, his beard and everything. But he's a cool dude. He's very, 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 very strong. I think he's 37 years old though. But we'll see. Yeah, that's the guy that would run the 175-pound division for as long as he wants to. If it wasn't for Bevo, so Bevo might mess up plans with that. But yeah, BWF versus Bevo is the most anticipated fight for the 175-pound division. So after he destroys Joe Smith Jr., I think he's gonna face off against Bevo. Yeah, Dimitri Bevo. That should be a good fight. I mean, I'm picking Bevo to beat BWF, but it should be a good fight nonetheless. Oh, excuse me a second. Just remember I had something else I had to do. Yeah, I was looking at Arthur BWF. He's a big, strong dude, man. He's big. He's strong. He's very, very strong. Very, very strong guy. Uh, um. Now, with respect to some other upcoming fights, Devin Haney versus say George Kambosos. Now, I think George Kambosos will have every single advantage he could possibly have. He's going to have home court advantage. He's going to have the crowds to boo Devin Haney. He's going to have. He won't have the judges because the judges come from another territory, but you never know. The crowds might influence the judges. He's got an exciting style, blistering, hand speed. He got combinations and stuff. His boxing IQ is not the greatest in terms of, like, if you compare him to Devin Haney. Devin Haney's got, you know, Campbell's is here, Devin Haney's somewhere up here, right? When it comes to boxing IQ, in my opinion. But what I can say is he's going to be the A side, so he kind of dictates the terms at which Devin Haney will face him. Now, Devin Haney's going to conform to all those terms, I'm pretty sure. Um, Devin Haney, I don't think he's going to have a problem with nothing. I think Devin Haney's going to beat George Kambosos, and he's going to beat him comprehensively, as he always does. He's going to comprehensively beat George Kambosos. Kambosos is a very good counterpuncher, by the way, and he counterpunches in combinations. But having said all of that, I don't think he's going to have much of a chance against Devin, because Devin is going to utilize his reach. He's going to utilize his movement. I think he's going to push Kambosos back at certain points. I think he's going to fight him on the inside at certain points. I think he's going to box him mostly, but I do think it's going to be mostly in the center of the ring. I think he's going to beat Kambosos to the punch almost every time, and I think he's going to dictate the fight, and it's going to go one way and one way only. And he's going to suck the life out of the crowd that's there. And the only way the judges are going to be able to score that for Kambosos is to rob him. Just like how the only way for those judges to score that fight for Canelo was to literally rob Bivol of his title. And they tried, because they had to fight close, which that fight was nowhere near close. As most people will tell you, I just listened to an interview with, what's the guy's name? Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis, strength and conditioning coach. And he was saying he only gave Canelo 1 round against Dimitri Bivol, which makes sense. I mean, I think he gave him the first round. And quite frankly, I don't think he even won that. So I thought it was a whitewash. Bivol whitewashed him, and it still ended up being a score on the judges' scorecards of 7-5. And I feel like something like that will happen, where Devin Haney will dominate the whole entire fight, and then at the end of the fight, they're going to have the scorecards are not going to be reflective of that. Um, but it won't be a robbery. I think they'll score it for Devin Haney. They won't have no more choice. They won't have no choice. Um, And you might be wondering, why do I have so much confidence in Devin Haney like that? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you why. The main reason I have why I believe Devin Haney will beat George Kambosos has nothing to do with speed. It has nothing to do with how good Kambosos is, how much of a Spartan he is. It has everything to do with the jab. Let me say it again. It has everything to do with the jab. Remember, I said that. The key to this fight is the jab. And Devin Haney has been using his jab very, very well. Coming off the jab, he builds, a number of different things. And that is going to be the key thing, I believe, in this fight, which separates Devin Haney from Kambosos. George Kambosos, he got a decent jab and everything, but Devin Haney is going to use his jab and establish range, and after that, the fight's going to be over. Just letting you know now. This fight is won in round one. This is not a fight that's going to be won, in round 10 or 12. This is not a close fight. This is not going to be. It's going to be a shutout for 12 rounds. It's going to go 12 rounds, I believe, and it's going to be a shutout fight. Okay. The only way Devin Haney can lose this fight is if he abandons his jab and he doesn't jab. But if he jabs, this fight's over before it even begun. Okay? Just letting you guys know, that's why Devin Haney's so confident in beating George Kambosos, because he knows he has a very good jab, and he knows Kambosos has a decent jab, but Kambosos, if Devin Haney establishes range, Kambosos can't do nothing. He's going to fall short with every single punch he throws. It doesn't matter how crisp he is. He's going to fall short. Devin Haney's going to capitalize on it and count him. So I believe that's the reason why I picked Devin Haney to beat George Kambosos. I'm speaking strictly from a boxing perspective. I don't care. I like Devin Haney. I like George Kambosos. I like that he wants to take on every single challenge. But I think he has every single advantage he can have. But that jab's going to make a big difference in the whole fight. With respect to the next upcoming fight, that would be Spence versus Terrence Crawford. I gotta tell you this, guys. Now, this fight is not easy to really say who's going to win because there are a number of factors. Which one of them is, as a wild card factor, is that Errol Spence can do a lot more things than he has been doing of late. Well, and he has a very good jab and he has very good paperwork. So what I'm about to say is based on what I've seen of Errol Spence, not what I've seen in sparring, because I've never seen him spar. So what I'm about to say has to do with the Errol Spence I've seen in fights. I think Terrence Crawford, I think he has the edge on Errol Spence that I've seen in fights. What Errol Spence has shown us of himself has an edge there. People are talking about Terrence Crawford knocking out Errol Spence. That's not going to happen anytime in the foreseeable future. That's not going to happen. And if you tell me Errol Spence is going to knock out Terrence Crawford, I would not believe you either. I think this fight goes to decision. Exciting fight. Tactical fight. But at the end of the day, I think the fight goes to decision. I think that Errol Spence's style and his pivot work could be a determining factor in his victory, if he does get a victory. I believe that Terrence Crawford's plasticity and his ability to make adjustments and adapt and learn, I think is going to make a difference in the fight if he wins the fight. I still peg the fight closer to Terrence Crawford. I believe Terrence Crawford is able to switch hit, and that can make a big difference in the fight, as well as the fact that Terrence Crawford's a smart fighter, and he makes adjustments as the fights go along. So I know Errol has a tremendous pace, but I just don't think that's going to be a factor because Terrence can slow that pace down by simply clinching him and shutting him down. So I don't think that Errol Spence, if Terrence doesn't want the pace to be a certain pace, I think he's going to take certain measures and do certain things to slow the fight down to whatever pace he wants it to be at. I think Terrence brings a lot of wrinkles to his game, but like I said before, I haven't seen all the wrinkles of Errol Spence's game, so I can't truly tell you who the winner is. There's a lot of wild card stuff up in there. It depends on what kind of fight Errol Spence decides he's going to fight. That might, there's a lot of variables going on in this fight. So I would love to see what both guys bring to the table. If Errol feels he's going to outwork Terrence and beat on him, I'm afraid he's going to be rudely awakened. But if he cannot fight Terrence Crawford the way he's been fighting the other fighters. I just don't believe it. I don't think he's going to succeed at that. I think he's going to um, shut him down by clinching in the inside and just shut him down like he did with Sean Porter. Terrence will not allow you, and then Terrence is very strong. So Terrence will not allow you to just beat on him. He's not going to do that. Um, and he's a very good fighter. So I have to assume that we're going to see aspects of Errol's game that we have not seen before, but he has shown in sparring and all those other things. If he tries to try to be the demolition man, I don't know how the fight will go. But I'm leaning towards Terrence. I think Terrence has a lot more rings and a lot more things that are just not typical of boxing and boxers today. So I lean towards Terrence Crawford. But like I said before, there's stuff about Errol that we have not seen, and if Errol brings those things to the